This episode's brought to you by Shea Hydrated. If you're looking to get that athletic fit gear for the summer, or maybe looking to get fit yourself, head over to PatcheOfficial.com. Use code ZAC20 for 20% off. I got Dan Heins, closest thing to David Goggins that I've ever encountered in real life. Entrepreneur, philosopher, family guy, father of two. Great to have you here.
Thanks, man. This is crazy.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of a trip. Right?
Hey, man, it is what it is. We've known each other quite a while now. Like, I was thinking almost 6 years.
Almost 6 years.
Yeah, and we've been through a lot,
Yeah, man. We should start there, dude. Don't you think? A little bit?
Yeah, well, that'll kind of give everyone like a little background about what you do.
Yeah.
Too, so.
Sure. Yeah, well, I met you probably the second year we were in business at our club, our fitness club in Andover, Snap Fitness Andover, and you were in a rough spot, man.
Yeah.
And you were, I think, my second or third official client. I had
as a trainer,
as a official trainer, right? Like done it.
But you had owned the gym, though.
Yeah, I had owned the gym longer. I had done a number of training sessions, but at that point, I had transitioned I was transitioning off my other business in the restaurant world.
Yeah.
And fully into lead training in our club, right?
Right.
And we were always going to be about mindset. We were always going to get this right. We were always going to get this right. And then, attack the physical that way. And I remember you came in with your dad, and he's a character, dude. I remember that conversation like yesterday. I'm like, well, this guy's like straight to the freaking point, right?
He knows how to talk.
He does, for sure. And I appreciate it. I'm like, yeah, I can whip this guy into shape. Let's freaking
Well, he
do
wasn't
it.
able to do it himself, being my dad.
Right.
And you were the first person really to do that and push me to, my honestly physical peak. And I was a, really good athlete growing up.
Yep.
Like, elite, I would say.
Yep. Right.
Pump my own tires. But
Yep.
I never really worked out. I was just naturally stronger and faster than everyone. And if I would have taken that time that you showed me what was possible, we probably wouldn't be talking here. I would have gone to college, but I'm glad I didn't now.
Yeah, your journey's been freaking fascinating, man. And, it's been fun to be a part of it. I mean, obviously that first part was pretty special. I mean, we did, your effort and ready to get out of your funk, and my ability to be, someone other than your dad, someone other than a parental figure, but still along that same line of, I would say, mentor, right? Would probably be a fair word, right?
That makes total sense.
It just came together. And I mean, your transformation was amazing, and since then it's been a roller coaster.
We were going to bring the HDMI for the TV to pop it up, and then it got forgot.
Oh, that's all good, man.
Yeah, but Levi, can you pop that up actually on the screen?
I was just showing these guys.
On the edit?
Yep.
Yeah, on the edit. All right.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of where my life really started, because that kind of gave me the first long-term, you showed me what was possible in the gym, and then I kind of took that out into other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, from there, let's talk about more like your business, what you did and what you gave up to make that happen for people, like what you did for me.
Yeah.
You didn't make a shit ton of money doing it.
No.
You should have.
I still don't.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And
we're getting there, but
you know what I mean? You own stuff but you gave up owning more shit to take less money to make people's lives better.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, actually, it's a cool story because, I mean, I get a lot of credit for this, but really, my wife should get a lot of credit for this. We were actually, the reason we wanted to quit was we were just in that kind of rat race, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with restaurant ownership unless it's
Subways.
Unless it's COVID,
just Subways though.
Yeah,
you're just Subway
just
owners.
Subways, yeah. And Sarah was a special investigator. She was managing a bunch of investigators in the Midwest and doing that. And we had a good thing going, running our game. And certainly not hurting by any means. But, you know, at a certain time, you know, and this has just always been built into me and built into her. It's like there's a job and then there's your life work, you know, and it's like we were missing our life's work, you know, and what did we really want to do? And, you know, the real motivation for getting into the gym industry was, you know, is we wanted to get Sarah out of her job. You know, I mean, we were doing great in the Subway world and she was doing fine there, but it was a corporate structure, you know, and here's this woman who is in every way, shape, or form bettering herself the same way I was. And I watched her in about 6 months. You know Jocko Willink, right? Yeah, of course, right? Got Gary V stuff here. You know, we had read his Extreme Ownership book, right? And there's a chapter in there that says leading up the chain of command. Right. And it's like a true leader leads from wherever they are. Doesn't matter. Right. You lead up, you lead down. Doesn't matter. You take extreme ownership. And I watched her and she used me strategically. It was a pretty good story. You know, she's in an old man's world, you know. I mean, so they're talking football rivalries. She doesn't know anything about this shit, you know. But she's,
college football. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. And, you know, I remember, and this was just one example of it, but I remember this example really vividly was, she's like, hey, what's the best college rivalry in football? Because she's on a chat, you know, with her kind of higher ups, and she's trying to build that rapport, right? And I'm like, Michigan, Ohio State, right? I'm just like, that was just my shot. And I think they were SEC guys, right? So they were arguing, you know, like Florida at Bama or something, right? Or Bama Auburn or something. But so anyway, I watched her strategically build this trust, and before long, she had the CEO or the highest up guy, right? I don't know what his official title is, but calling her after these meetings, asking her for advice, and she had earned his loyalty to her coaching him, right? And I just remember we were talking, and I'm like, you are being wasted here. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta, like, together, like, do our thing, because this is what we're about, right? I mean, like, we do this together. And so I said, we've always talked about owning a gym and changing people's lives. You want to own a gym? And she goes, yeah, that'd be cool. And that was it.
And now
that was it.
Now it's the #1 Snap Fitness in the Midwest.
It's right up there. Yeah.
Was at one point?
Actually, the nation. It's right.
Right up there.
The North American continent. Yeah.
And then you also were the #1 trainer a year.
Yep. And
I see those awards on your desk.
Yeah, and we're constantly, like, again, it's a multivariable conversation. I mean, there's a lot of decent gyms out there, so I don't want to claim necessarily the #1 spot, but we're in the conversation every month, and it just depends on, you know, how you define it. But yeah, we built it up, and you know, not to sound cliche, but we live our truth. You know, it's like when you walk in there, I didn't see Zach right away. I saw a kid that needed help, man, you know, and there's very few reasons that I can think of that I would rather get up in the morning and spend my time doing than that. And I've only gotten better. We've only gotten better. And so, yeah, man.
It's really crazy for me to see because, like, you know, I was your first step, but to see what you've done in our, like, you know, I don't want to say necessarily where we live, but in our town that me and you both live in, you've made such a difference from when I went to school, because a lot of kids, including myself, would walk from the middle school over to the YMCA to, like, cause trouble. Yeah. And, you know, it was kind of bad. It got to a point where the cops were patrolling. And now I see middle schoolers walking to your gym because you have kids programs for, like, dirt cheap, because you know what they're going to go do after school maybe, and would rather have that as an option for parents who maybe they can't afford, you know, like a after school, you know, activity or even sports where they can come over there. And that's just been crazy to see. And even the hockey team, you know, I was on the hockey team. We didn't we did dry land at the rink, and it was minimal effort, get by. And then now the hockey players are at the gym every day as a team. They kind of just hang out in there, and it's some people get annoyed, but I don't care, because I was like, I should have been doing that shit.
Dude, I went off on him yesterday, man. It was hilarious.
You guys won
know?
state. Can't
Yep.
you can't be hanging.
I went off on him yesterday from across the gym. It was so funny, man. They were like 10 of them just standing there, and I'm like just getting freaking fuming, right? Because I mean, they all come in together, and it's like pure freaking testosterone hour from 12:30 to 3:30. I feel bad for any woman that walks into that gym during that time, right? Because it's just nothing but freaking teenagers. All of them with their phones, all of them chatting, out of school, just happy to be out of school, right? You know, and I'm happy to like provide that. But every once in a while, you got to slap them around, you know? And so I was with a client, and of course, as an owner, it's tough sometimes to be with a client because you're constantly,
that's where it
you're constantly monitoring shit,
That's
right?
where it can make you probably like, okay.
Yep.
This making me look bad because I'm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm sitting there and I'm on by the treadmills, and he knows my gym, you know, but it's a pretty big gym for a 24-hour facility.
Well, it's got turf and everything.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
that's
we
what
got
makes it. And you bought the space, or you leased the space to make it bigger, even.
Yeah, we're about 6,500 square feet roughly, but it's a really cool, unique space. And but yeah, I was with a client, and I looked over, and there was probably 10 of them just standing around in a circle. And it was like, all right, okay, fine. They're sharing something on their phone or whatever. I'll give them about 5 minutes, you know, and it's like, people got to get on shit. And then it was like 10 minutes, you know, and finally I'm just like, I just shouted. I'm like, would you lift something? Like, and like every one of them turned like I was talking to them directly. And you could see them all just, you know, Logan Gravnick, the dude. Yeah, Gravy.
Did you have the Stan hype eyes? Like,
oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, and he, you know, we got into it today back and forth too, because he claims he was the only one actually lifting in that area, you know, and, but he gave me some shit, you know, he talked back, you know, and said something about getting another squat rack or something. And I'm like, and I didn't hear it, but I was just like, you've been standing there for 20 fucking minutes. Like, would you lift something? And they just all kind of like dispersed, you know, and yeah, they need that shit once in a while. But yeah, it's been, and the youth program's been insane, dude. And thanks for the kind words, man, because our youth program is pretty special. And for people that don't know, you know, it's not just a physical program, right? You know, we firmly believe that you got to get the mind and the body right. Or the mind and the heart right, the soul right? And the body will just be a reflection of that usually.
I actually have a true story.
Yeah.
I just thought of. I was at like a Top Golf with one of my buddies who asked me to go, and his little brother was there, and he was only there because he was having like a tough time in school or something like that. And sure enough, I see him in your kids program.
Oh, really?
2 days later.
Do you remember who he was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Levi, you might have to cut that.
Yeah, cut that out. Yeah, we don't need
name.
to throw him out. But yeah, for sure. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, well, and I mean, for me, you know, we know every kid, you know, and I know why he was there. Right?
Yeah, and I know why he was there because he told me 2 days before, and I looked. I'm taking a drink at the drinking fountain, and someone tapped me on the shoulder, and I thought it was you, and it was him. I was like,
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, the number one feedback we get from that program, and you know, just to give the program some scope, we probably average about 80 kids in there at all times, like on average, right? So we do an after school program, you know, not at once, right? Like we have small groups of 10 that come in on every other days, and we run multiple groups, and I have a great training staff that knows exactly why we do this, and they do a great job, you know, with me. But it really is, you know, Sarah and my bread and butter, which is if we're going to do a youth program, we're going to do it our way. And of course, it helps that we homeschool our kids. We're entrepreneurs. We're people who have clearly defined ideas of what we think is right and wrong, and the values that are being lost that need to be instilled, and the challenges that are facing young people today are very apparent to us because we have 2 young people, right? And, you know, and so what we wanted to do was offer a program that challenged the mind and challenged the emotions and challenged the spirit as much as the body. And so when we first started that first summer, we do 2 separate things. So we do our after school program, and then in May we shut it down and we do what's called our summer slam, and that's huge, right? Like that's already booking up for June. It books up earlier every year, and it's just been a blessing. And usually we have about 100 and 120 kids in that program. And And there's built-in personal development. So I said, you know what we should do? We should get Jocko Willnick's Way of the Warrior Kid book for that first summer, and we'll make them read it. And every week they'll have chapter reading, and they'll have to answer the questions that I decide are going to help them think about the values of discipline, leadership, empathy, understanding, all these incredible things that are baked into his message. And it ended up just doubling in size 3 or 4 times over within a year. And then so much that we ended up deciding we were going to take that additional space.
It was getting a little crowded.
It was getting crowded.
It was. I would agree, but now with that, because you funneled the kids into that one,
right,
and you put everything that was in the original gym in a condensed form, and it was cool.
It was perfect, and we have a great outdoor training space, which we used with you quite a bit, right? You know, so in the summer we have a lot more flexibility because they can be 3-4 different places without
running
bogging,
around.
Without bogging down the gym, and we actually have about a 400-meter lap around the mall and around so it's a perfect way to get them out and get them running. But yeah, it was scary because nowhere in our business plan when we went all in with what we had worked for and said, okay, we're going to spend this much money and go all in again. Okay, well, that's kind of what we do. Right. Nowhere in that business plan was, okay, 3 years into this, we're going to expand. Yeah. Because we were already one of the biggest Snap Fitnesses at that time.
Yep, square footage.
Square footage. They've gotten bigger now, but we were already kind of like, oh man, you're looking at that rent price, with 0 members. It's like, all right.
And it's just funny because now you're at the level where
right
and you could do it with your Stan Hype persona. You could open like a global gym and just walk around with your headband and push it.
Stan Hype. We're going to talk about Stan Hype, dude.
No. We'll leave him out of it.
Okay, all right. That's hilarious. I sound like a wrestler, dude.
It's funny, though. But, no, yeah, you were saying that your kids are homeschooled.
Yeah, we just started that this year.
Okay. They always went to Catholic school?
No, Spanish immersion.
I knew there was something different. What's that exactly?
So we're one of the only nations in the world that actually don't really mandate a language immersion, right? So if you grew up in Germany, you would go to elementary school and they would speak primarily English, right? Or most places will teach English, right? And so we originally moved to Andover because they have they had and still do to some extent a really good public school system. But one day when Sarah was doing an interview in Spring Lake Park for an investigation, she went to the Woodcrest Spanish Immersion program, and she just kind of was blown away by these second graders coming up and speaking fluent Spanish to their kids, and she came home really excited about it. She's like, we got to check this out. And that opened up a correlating conversation about the world's not getting any bigger, right? It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So many more opportunities for teaching these kids how to be able to connect and speak and, communicate properly with other people. And so, we made the choice to drive our kids one way 20 minutes every single day because it was out of district. We'd sit down there forever. And they did that each of them did that through 5th grade, basically. When COVID hit, Braden was just into his 6th grade year at Oakview Middle School, right? Yep. And Brielle was just in, 5th, yeah. So he was in 7th then. He was? 4th. Okay. Anyway, so actually we just got back from the Dominican on our first family vacation since we opened the gym, and it was awesome, right? It was awesome to see them speaking fluent Spanish,
that would be actually cool.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah, I was in Honduras with my dad and a buddy, and he could speak pretty decent Spanish because he was just smart, and he was so in Mexico and stuff, English, but we were in Honduras. No, I mean, if you didn't speak English, you didn't speak it. So we had to tell the taxi guy he had to really communicate in Spanish. Where this world, it's
right. And then it's amazing, isn't it, that how much you can still, like, even if you didn't have him, because you probably didn't have him the whole time.
No,
Right?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
We had it. Well, he was with us there.
Okay.
He flew there with us, so like, good, thank God we had
But
him.
but it is amazing how much you can still communicate, even if you don't have the language.
Suppose, yeah,
you know,
for
just
sure.
with the nonverbals and everything. But yeah, it was really cool. And honestly, we had always been interested in homeschooling. So we had done a lot of research because it's a really overwhelming process for a lot of people. And there's a lot of like many things people don't understand, a lot of misconceptions and preconceived notions about how challenging it can be or how much time it'll take. Well, yeah, if you think about your kids 7 to 8 hours daily in school and you actually think they're learning that whole time and you actually think, you know, they're actively learning that whole time. Well, I mean, let's face it. This is mostly a convenience for most people. That's what public school is, in my opinion, right? It's mostly like, we're not going to do it at home. We're both working. There's a huge daycare. I don't have to worry about where they are element to it, even when they're older. And I'm not saying I'm not anti-public education, for the record, by any stretch of the imagination, although it is getting more fucked up by the day, in my opinion. But we had done our research, right? Like, we had gotten books, we had understood, like, this is a lifestyle. This isn't like learning happens anytime, right? It doesn't have to happen from 7 to frickin' 3, right? And there's lots of different ways to learn. And then there's stigmas on socialization and all that good stuff. And so when COVID happened and they shut us down and they went online, and in all fairness, that was a cluster, you know what, from the beginning for everybody, you know, and that's not the teacher's fault or public education fault or anything. It was just a disaster, right? I mean, we just kind of looked at it and we're like, this is bad. And then you kind of start seeing how little they are actually taught. And we were like, yeah, no, we can do this, and we can do this way better, and we can actually teach them, which is still our primary job. We've been doing this the whole time.
So is there like scenarios where like dad gets to be the mad scientist and mom has to teach literature?
Sometimes, I mean, yeah, I mean, when we get there, for sure. I mean, what's really cool, I mean, obviously there's different challenges based on how old your kids are, because ours are 14 and almost 12 now. So they're very independent and they're very responsible, so they can handle a lot of their responsibility themselves.
True that.
Yeah.
So like for like me, you know me,
Yeah.
you know who I am. Would you have wanted to homeschool me?
Totally. 100%.
Because I learned a lot in high school, like,
Yeah, but
about myself and
Yeah, but more socialization and like culturally,
and then I could
like
talk to people for a living
for
potentially. you know?
sure, 100%. And maybe it would have been better for you to get that in an institutionalized setting. But there's lots of different ways to do that.
I could have gone to Shattuck, St. Mary's, Cretan,
Yep.
Hill Mary, TG. They like
Yep.
it was a
'Cause they were recruiting
it was
you.
a fight over where I went for football and hockey.
Yeah.
And then my dad was like, "Yeah, you make a pick, you got to do it." And I was like, I think I'm just staying Andover and hang with the boys."
Sure.
Because I had some pretty tight friends that I
Yeah.
didn't want to leave and start fresh, but
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and again, this brings up a really interesting conversation, honestly, because one of the biggest kickbacks we get when we tell people we're homeschooling is, are you worried about their socialization, right? Well, that brings up a conversation about what should their socialization look like, right? So the norm is hanging out with 13-year-olds and then 14-year-olds and then 15-year-olds and then 16-year-olds. You don't hang out with 18-year-olds until you have the choice to, right?
For me though,
Yep.
I was hanging out with 18-year-olds when
Right.
I was like 15.
Well, and and again, this is why it brings up an interesting question, because, and again, I know your whole story,
Yeah.
right? It's not like
I
it's
was-
been a smooth
I was in
road.
college when I was 16, pretty much.
Yeah.
I went to the bars and I had a fake ID, and that I haven't been to a bar like that probably since I was 21, because I was burnt by the time I was 21.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I haven't been to a bar in I don't know how long now.
Yeah. Well, and this, and I would imagine, because you were exposed to all those things so early as well, it affected you, for better or worse. You wouldn't be where you are now if you didn't do it. So it's not a bad thing, right?
Some people go to college for like the experience of that, and I feel like I got it because I don't owe anyone any student loan money.
Totally.
I wouldn't party, but I didn't have to go to class.
This is just it, right? I mean, we have to start having real, honest conversations in this country about what education is, right, and what's worth paying for, and what you can actually pursue on your own, right? Our philosophy is, other than some sciences and maybe a few degrees within the college, realm, they don't have a monopoly on information or education. They have a monopoly on accreditation, right? So as soon as that starts changing, and it's already changing, then they're not going to be charging $100,000 for, unforgivable loans for, freaking arbitrary, that you could have got, again, like you could be a chiropractor tomorrow, dude. If you found a good chiropractor and you really wanted to be that without an education, because you could go follow that chiropractor for 18 months.
I was told by a very important person that the only degree you needed, the only like actual degree that you need is for the medical field.
Correct. Sciences.
Yeah, sciences, where it's legally obligated that you have a degree to practice.
And again, that's to some extent just a monopoly on accreditation, right? Because if you went and you shadowed and found a mentor in the medical field, depending on the role, right, then how quick could you pick up their knowledge, right? And ask questions and observe and find your kind of own way. There's an amazing book by Robert Greene, who actually Jordan Peterson just interviewed last week, and I was shocked to see it because I didn't know he knew who Robert Greene was, or anyone knows who he was. But he wrote a book called Mastery, and it's a brilliant book, and it's one of the most influential books I've ever read, and it's all about that, right? It's all about the fact that from the beginning of time, we haven't gone to institutions except for like the last few hundred years, right? We've been mentoring forever. You've been teaching trades. You've been passing that on through, like an apprenticeship, right? And so, how much of your education truly has come from like institutionalized learning versus how much of your personal education right now, and I'm asking this if you want to answer, how much of that has come from what you've learned from yourself and from other people around you,
I've learned just the last 2 years, it's all about who you know. It's not what you know, it's like who you know.
100%.
And I'm really starting to learn that. And sorry, Mom, but she jokes, I divorced your dad because we couldn't go anywhere and he didn't know anyone. Like he knew every time they left the house, he would know at least 2-3 people. So it's like
so there's a little bit of
it's joke because it's literally everywhere we go, he'll know at least one person if we're like walking around in public. That he's done business with, went to school with. Done, you know what I mean? And he's successful for a reason. So
we were just joking about this at dinner, like literally just joking about this because this guy walked in with an Allman Brothers t-shirt on, and I was like, sweet, dude, this is awesome. Like one of my all-time favorite bands, and she's rolling with a Rolling Stones t-shirt, right? And we were joking about our vacation in the Dominican, and like, because by the time we had left, we got invited to a Portuguese wedding. I got an email address from a guy in Brazil that we were talking politics with. I literally met like Jonah Hill's character from fucking Wolf of Wall Street. I just call him Wall Street, dude. Like the white Jewish Tyrone,
That's
dude.
so
He's
funny.
fucking awesome. Like everyone at this enormous resort like knew who we are, right? And we're hobnobbing it with, the help and the all the people who are just crushing it. I mean, shout out for the record to the Hilton La Romana. If anyone's looking for just an epic freaking all-inclusive experience in the Dominican, I wasn't planning on plugging that, but it was awesome. Like it was
see if we can get a deal out of that, Levi.
It was so awesome, and everybody was great. Food was great, drinks were great, everything was great, and it was amazing. I'm not gonna talk about my vacation, but yeah, but we were just talking about that, right? And it's like, yeah, it's not who you know. Like I'm in my element when I'm in those situations because you never know, I got tons of questions about the crap you're into right now, and I don't mean crap derogatory, just I say crap because I'm too stupid to know what it is, but
blockchains and
yeah,
stuff.
blockchains and shit, you know, because I'm like, it's time for me to get educated in these areas and
Oh yeah.
pick your brain
like I
and
was
let you
telling
mentor me for a
Well,
little
like
bit.
I was telling you, I could make you an NFT for your gym, and
Yeah.
the highest amount of check-ins gets to go in your supplements and to pick out whatever they want.
Yeah.
Because if someone checks in 30 days, say, they get to go right into your stash of goodies and pick whatever they want.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking.
You
Yeah,
know
we're
what I
gonna be
mean?
talking.
Or anything.
Yeah, or maybe we'll just get Snap Fitness entirely on an NFT, and we'll freaking corner that market. And
Oh,
we'll bring
yeah.
it to
I
corporate,
like
and we'll
that.
freaking, and then you can broker another freaking big deal.
There we go. Always business. But that brings me to another
Yeah.
point where I respect the shit out of you so much is you told me you had an offer. You don't have to say necessarily for what, to like, have just Sarah run the gym, and you could have gone potentially and worked for someone
Yep.
for over 6 figures. And then you're like, well, then we have like, multiple gym and like
Yep.
coming in the future if I were to go do that.
Yeah.
And you stayed because I told you, I don't know if it was because of this, but it wouldn't be the same without you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I don't know for better or worse, but I'm a
Because then you could have expanded to 4 gyms,
Yeah,
and then you're not but then you're not at those gyms.
then you're not at those gyms, right?
So-
And that was part of our lesson in our Subway restaurant business, because I had 7 locations, and I learned early on that I'm not opposed to expanding, but not at the expense of quality, not at the expense of results, not at the expense. And I did that for about 7 years. I expanded and expanded and expanded because honestly, it was an ego thing for me. I was at the time, the youngest franchisee in history. I think I was 24 or 5, something like that. And we started building them 1 year at a time, one every year. And for me, I lost what I loved about the restaurant industry in that process, right? I lost my love for people, my love for serving, my love for being hands-on and showing people how to handle things instead of, and I got out of my wheelhouse to a certain extent, but yeah, I have a great friend, dude. He's awesome. And again, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right?
Right.
And he knows what we're capable of. Like, he's always trying to give me money, and trying to get me into an investment with him, or because he's investing in Sarah and I, and he knows what we're capable of, and I love him for that. And I want so badly on some level want to do something with him,
Of course.
And we spent a good amount of time with him this week. Yeah, but he offered me $250,000 start.
Hard to say no.
Yeah, I know, right? $250,000 start to run his national Yeah, I won't. Just to run his operations and sales on his national kind of exterior renovations company.
Okay.
and super successful.
And you
guy.
started as a sales guy back in Colorado, no?
Yeah. So I started in sales, but again, for all the wrong reasons,
Yeah.
right? Like, I started selling yellow page advertising I remember. So I was just a party animal, right?
Been there.
Yep. And I remember I was a couple years ahead in school. So I did the PSEO, I think the second year it was in existence, and I went to Rochester Community and Tech my junior and senior year, and then chased a girl to Winona. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I'm glad I did it because I met my wife at Winona. But I remember I had one really, really cool professor, and he was my marketing professor. And one day in class, he's like, "Who's thinking about going into sales?" And I was the only one, right? Because I think everyone in that class had like delusions of like sitting in a frickin' 50th floor marketing meeting, designing Nikes new,
Yeah.
And I was like, I raised my hand, and he goes, "Heins." It's like, "That's a good move." he goes, "That's a good move." And I was actually bartending, and a sales rep came in from McLeod, USA. I don't know if you're old enough to remember this. I know you know phone books, but we actually had phone books. And there was a black book with the gold star on it, right? And that was McLeod, USA. And I'm like, "What do you do?" I'm like, you looking for anyone to like sell advertising? He's like, yeah.
Sure.
And so I got hired. I did pretty well, but I also was doing it for all the wrong reasons, man. Like I just wanted to party. I wanted to make huge sales. I wasn't really serving the client, you know. So I learned a lot in that process, you know.
Yeah.
And I learned that now I'm an amazing salesman because I don't sell anything.
And how did you end up in Colorado?
We just wanted to change. She got a internship with Martin Martin Kaplan Miller and Cerisi. A big law firm, huge law firm. They had a massive settlement in the tobacco lawsuit, that initial one. So she got an internship and then got a job, and then they were going to eliminate the position. And I showed up on New Year's Eve night, picked her up, and I said, "You want to get the fuck out of here?"
Nice.
And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Let's get the fuck out of here."
So this is in Rochester?
No, we were kind of in between. So I was,
St. Cloud.
yeah, huh?
St. Cloud Elk River.
Yeah, St. Cloud Elk River, basically.
We got back up a little.
Yeah,
farther.
for sure.
You met Sarah, but you introduced her to someone first.
Well, I met her first, but
You were you claimed it, but you introduced one of your best buds to your wife.
So the love of my life. It's weird talking about it because, yeah. So a lot of people get really uncomfortable when I mention this because, well, first
I did ask you before.
So my wife is in the room, right, and right now, and we have these when people ask us how we met. It's an interesting story, and it gets people uncomfortable. But we met. So here's the long part. We've never not lived together ever.
Right. That's
Ever.
what you told me that.
Like
and
ever.
Yeah.
Right. So I met this girl when she moved in to a 5-bedroom apartment just off campus in Winona State. We were waiting for. I'm just gonna say it so I get a call. I'm roofing that summer, right? I'm roofing, and I get a call about August, and she's like, "Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm going to be your roommate." And she was so nice and so personable. Okay. And of course, I don't know about you, but I immediately start imagining what this person looks like, right?
Oh yeah.
And I told her this later. I was like, "I imagined you as a fat girl." Because she had such a good personality that I was like, she's overcompensating for something. I know. I'm laying it out there. This is why I'm here, right? Zach knows I'm only going to... Huh? I only try to tell the truth, man. That's all I try to do, man.
No,
and
I love about you.
I'm not proud of it by any means. And it's not like I don't like women with a little extra meat on the bone either, for the record.
Yeah. Goddamn right.
But anyway, yeah, she walks in, she's all bouncy and bubbly, and I'm just like, oh man, she's kind of cute. And I was in my like fucking vanilla, or not, my like M&M phase, dude. So like, you don't know this, but I had like the hockey players now, like bleach platinum
but
hair. Short.
Oh.
Yeah, earrings.
I'm trying to think.
Like hemp necklace, dude.
Jeez, I can't even picture it. I can't even picture it. Oh,
I'll show you a picture the next time we whip that thing out, man.
That's crazy.
It's quite a look.
So I guess it wasn't love at first sight.
No, it was
Delayed.
No, it was lust at first sight. Like for sure. I mean, it was like. I had a girlfriend.
That's what I mean. It was so you didn't necessarily
I'm still a guy, man.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like I'm not afraid to like look and go, wow, she's pretty cute. But yeah, I was in a relationship and it was kind of going sour. It wasn't going great. And we had a connection. We went out a lot. We partied. We had a lot of fun together. And Jenny and my relationship kind of dissipated, but not entirely. And we ended up getting left alone at the apartment over spring break for a week. Well, it was kind of
years
inevitable.
ago. It's years ago, man.
Yeah, and in all fairness, like
that's a decade rule.
Yeah, and in all fairness, like I really didn't want to lead her on, but my actions definitely suggested otherwise, right? And so we had a strong connection right away. Like Sarah and I had a very, very strong connection, and I knew that, and I fucked it up because I still didn't know what I wanted. I was still torn in this relationship, and ultimately I really hurt her. And I was working with a guy, Brandon, at Big K, Kmart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Big K.
I remember
baby.
that.
That's a perfect stoner job, you know.
Yeah.
And I ended up introducing them. Yeah, I was like, you should come home party. You know, they ended up connecting, and he ended up dating Sarah for just over a year, I think. And during that year, I had dated a few girls. I had a good friend that was a girlfriend, and I really grew up. I really started piecing together not only what I kind of wanted in life from a business or like from an occupational standpoint, but I had also had plenty of fun, and I was tired, and I knew I wanted a meaningful relationship. And on some level, I knew that she was the one. And it was a really weird situation to be in because she's in a relationship. I'll go out on a date or two here once in a while, but I was single for quite a while. And so on her birthday, he cheated on her with a girl in our apartment complex. And I was just like, fuck it. Like, I was a lion, dude, just waiting to pounce, man. I mean, but I knew I needed to play my cards right, too. You know, I'm
you're
like,
old enough where...
I don't want to be the rebound, right? And B, I want to actually, I really want to show this girl that I love her and that I really want to be with her. And, you know, it started as kind of an exciting fling again, but, you know, after that, the rest is history. And, you know, we've been together 22 years now, or at least, yeah, lived together for 22 years and married for 17 almost.
Right.
And we did, yeah. We went down the friends route. We had a Chandler Monica thing going on, and you know, so she'd slip down the hallway at like midnight, and you know, and then our other roommate James kind of found out, and we're like, "Don't say shit, man. It's the end of our senior year. Like, don't say anything. We don't know quite what."
Did he say something?
No, he didn't. God bless him. He didn't say a damn word. We took everybody out for margaritas at the very end of because we lived together for 2 years, and everyone in our home were people in our wedding when we got married. And we just said, yeah, we're dating. We're in and they were ecstatic, you know.
Bro, that's what me and Maddie Rooney Rooney and I had to do because we were like dating during the hockey season.
Oh, so it was like taboo.
And then right after, coach like, so you guys, huh? I was like, yeah.
So how good were you really
hiding? Shout out Maddie Rooney though.
Right, no, she's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude. And thanks for hooking me up with her. She came to our health fair event that one time. I even still got a picture wearing that gold medal. So.
She just got the silver. Yep. And so she's gonna be a decorated Olympian.
It's crazy to think about it, dude. Yeah. And the Andover hockey's freaking blowing.
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be like the next Eden Prairie.
Yep.
And that's where my business mind is. I was like, Mom, we gotta knock down your house, take that corner house out, and then we're gonna put a Chipotle, Jimmy John's, Z Boy's Hot Chicken.
Nice.
Andover's gonna be the new hub.
It is.
And because the cities are, you know, ever since the George Floyd thing, they just haven't been the same. And
and there's a mass exodus
in the Twin Cities, obviously. And I even, you know, we're in Edina, Minnesota right now, like currently, and I even heard a mom say, "Oh, I think we're gonna move to Andover in the Starbucks."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I could see a boom coming, and with a 5-year vision, you could play your cards right.
Nice.
Anyone could.
Who
has liquid, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you can see Prairie blowing up right now. They just, you know, they're putting another 300, 400 homes in there right now, and. Yeah, for sure. It's going to be the Eden Prairie of the North, for sure.
I believe so. With both hockey teams won the state tournament, which is a huge deal. Everyone knows.
Yeah, and Andover sports in general is just blowing up, you know.
Yep.
You know, basketball, hockey, wrestling, you name it. You know, baseball should be really good this year.
It was actually, when I went to school there in 2016, I graduated, I'd probably been on the Open 12 years-ish. I think it opened in like 2000. 5 or 6. I don't know. That sounds about right. But anyway, let's talk about like more like what like you, like what are the elements that make you because obviously you're a character and I love you, but like you do hunting a lot.
Yeah.
You can bow hunt and
dude, I'm trying to be Joe Rogan. That's what I'm trying to be. Like I just decided, fuck it. He's doing everything right. I'm just gonna be him.
Oh, look at you today.
I'm just gonna be him, man. No, I mean, yeah, I'm a character for sure. I mean, I don't know where to start, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, like bow hunting.
Yeah,
is,
so
like, is that like your meditation?
bow hunting for me is definitely my number one passion. And if you
yeah.
would
you tell me every day.
if you would have told me that 6 years ago, I'd told you you're nuts. But you know what I like? The same with like Jocko and David Goggins, and I found I like to struggle, man. You know, and bow hunting is a struggle. That's why I like it. And yes, there is a meditative aspect to it because, of course, you're connected, right? You're in nature. You are connected. It's still, you know, you can just take it in and it's quiet. And the world's so fucking loud now, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's so nice to just disconnect. And there's nothing easy about bow hunting. Nothing. Like, you know, in fact, I told Sarah this when I came back on gun opener. I'm like, I really try not to be a resentful, annoyed person, but I just imagine these guys grabbing their guns one time a year, blowing off the dust, loading some bullets in, and just going out and blasting anything that moves. And I know it's way more complicated than that, but that's what I imagine.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this is bullshit, man. I'm like, I'm shooting my bow every day, like fine tuning that craft. I'm like, I don't get to be in the neighborhood when that deer comes along. I got to be in its bedroom and it needs to not know I'm there. Like there's a art to this thing, and you really do get humbled, just like jujitsu, like Rogan talks all the time, right?
And you're big into BJJ.
Well, I love it. I've been slacking the last month, and Brady and I are really trying to get back into it. But yeah, I got my blue belt about 2.
You're like a California like it feels like you lived in California in like 2015 because you're like you got the BJJ, the gym, the more like herbal remedy rather than Western medicine. Because I remember I came to you one time. I said, "Man, I'm getting older. What am I gonna do? What should I do for like health insurance? Like I'm not there yet, but like I was like, what should I do once I turn 25 and I need health insurance?" And you're like, "Bro, eat vegetables, go to the gym, and that's it. That's all I do."
Yeah, for sure, dude. You know, I mean, there's definitely some insurances you want to put in place, but yeah, I mean, we haven't been insured in 7 years, and we have we have life insurance.
Yeah,
for
obviously you're a smart
yeah, we have
person to put
disability
that in.
insurance, we
Yeah.
have car insurance, we have other
But just the
investments.
general
But the general idea,
Obamacare style.
dude, I would have pissed away $100,000 already in premiums and deductible payments and shit like that. And this is the common misnomer, right? Like you want a really good opportunity business wise. This is kind of my like, this would be freaking epic, right? Is get the real healthcare industry together, not the medical industrial complex, right? Like the real healthcare industry, your preventative healthcare people, your nutritionists, your functional medicine, your chiropractors, your massage therapists, your physical therapists, your gym owners, your supplement companies, things like that, right? And because you figure, okay, a family of 5 is paying, like for us, it would have been $1,500+ a month just for deductibles as small business owners, right? That's whether I use it or not, right? Then I got to go get a gym membership. Then I got to go get a chiropractic, visit, and usually have to pay a shit ton before I meet some deductible, right? We're never using anything. The year we decided to opt out, my son fell on the playground and broke his arm. And we were like, oh, fuck, right? Like, we don't have insurance. Well, it turns out when you don't have insurance, you pay about 30 to 40% of what you would pay if you had insurance. So when we would go in and we said, well, we're cash only, we don't have insurance. You know what happens? The entire process becomes efficient. Totally efficient.
Peer-to-peer.
Peer-to-peer, right? We paid $1,300 out of pocket for a broken bone. Okay? $1,300. That's less than 1 month's deductible that we would have paid over that time, right? And we didn't have a third follow-up appointment. They called and said, hey, how's his range of motion? And we're like, yeah, good, really good. Okay, good. No charge, right?
Right.
But otherwise, if we had insurance, we'd have been back in that doctor's office. We'd have gone through that whole thing so they could bill it out again and everything, right? And again, I'm not hating on Western medicine. There's some miraculous shit they're doing for sure. I'm just saying we have the totally wrong mentality when it comes to our health, right? So if we were able to get like-minded companies together and essentially do the same thing the insurance companies do, just say, well, fuck it. Instead of paying for health insurance, We'll cover catastrophes. We'll let you decide how many chiropractic visits you want. Here are the doctors that are discounting their services. Here's your gym options for the area. Here's all of this. And this one healthcare package is going to cost you X amount of dollars per month. And then we're just going to escrow that shit, right? We're going to make 4 to 10% interest on that shit.
Why helping people?
Yeah, and again, you start maybe on a county level or some shit like that where it's manageable.
I did see I think Cuban is coming out with like a pharmacy like a fast meds that you order. You have to just set it up, and it's made to like benefit people rather. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I saw that Mark Cuban's trying to do something with the prescriptions and how they're up priced so much, and he's going to go straight to the source because he has those connections. And
well, some shit's got to change, man. I mean, so I mean, it's worked out for us. I mean, anything's possible. The good news about Obama is he took out the pre-existing conditions clauses in insurance. So heaven forbid I come down with something ridiculous, I could still opt into insurance if it came down to I need to be in the hospital for 50 days.
Well, and then when it comes to like life insurance stuff, like you guys are such healthy people that your premium for that is probably
super. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, and we invest really wisely in that too. It actually becomes part of our bank and part of how we move money through our business and how we reinvest and
you hide your bread.
How you hide your bread legally, man.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Derek More Plates More Dates on
No.
YouTube? He's actually like reignited my like fitness. Like
oh yeah.
Like I'm all like so I decided that you only get till you're like 33 to be in peak athletic, and then you like peak out at like 32. So so I've decided, I've roller coastered and whatnot over the last like three or 4 years, and COVID's an excuse and whatnot. But he really like to like the science of it, because I've never actually looked into the science of like test levels and like and stuff like that. I'm getting older, and like TRT and all that.
Sure.
Like he's a very like he breaks
testosterone levels.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And so he breaks down like the science of like what like weight loss, fasting, like testosterone. Like some guys actually like would actually be better off in life if they had TRT like once a week or whatever, at like a small dose of like 20 mil or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like I'm learning about all that now.
Oh, nice.
And he's he also calls out people on like online on videos. Like Charlie Rocket is like a big like giveaway guy, and and he's like super like uplifting, and he's like, I can't lose weight. I'm trying on it's my thyroid. I'm seeing doctors. And then Derek made a video. He's like, bro, if you're licking ass, I want you to count the calories.
Right? It's that simple.
And I was like, all right, this guy's he's like my new fitness
simple,
guy. Shout out Derek, More Plates, More Dates for sure.
Okay, right on. I'll check him out.
For sure. But then like other than that, how do you feel like, I know we've talked about it, but like, psychedelic therapies and stuff like that.
I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah.
Dude. Like this is one of my extreme fascinations for multiple reasons, right? Because obviously I'm a huge Jordan Peterson geek, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I just was with him the other night.
Yep. Just got to meet my all-time like earthly role model, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like there's the spiritual component, right? That's really, really fascinating to me, especially with our mental. Like our removal of religion from our culture as a collective, and then also with this epidemic of mental health issues, the two are heavily correlated, right? And you can substitute religion with just purpose and meaning in life, right? Like shooting for that highest goal. And so I've read The Spirit Molecule. I know Dr. Stratzman's work. I know John Hopkins is doing it right now. And the studies are freaking believable, right? When it comes to the addiction therapies, the ones that'll have a fatal disease that are no longer scared of death. These are things that from the beginning of time have been a part of our culture from the beginning of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they are arguably a huge reason for our development as a species, And so the fact that they got so demonized is real.
If you look at the big picture,
it,
it's just recently,
Yeah.
as you know,
Yeah.
because it's scheduled back, historically, to like the Mayans, probably.
Way before
Yeah,
that.
and
Way
so,
before that.
and just
yeah.
in the last 100 years or so, now psychedelics are Schedule 1.
Well, so there's a stoned ape theory that you might have heard of too, which is fascinating. You right? Yeah, this guy knows. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what I agree, but you could see a scenario where, as we evolve from primates, right? You can imagine where this theory goes, right? It's like chimp is a chimp one day, and the chimp is a tripping chimp the next day, and anyone who's seen a freaking brain scan of somebody on a psychedelic understands that when we say we're using a fraction of our brain, we're using
Truly.
a fraction of our brain until you're under that influence, and then your true brain activity explodes.
It's like a refresh.
Yeah, it explodes, right? It is, and it's a refresh. And not only that, but you're tapping into deep areas of your psyche, right? And it's like, well, why would that be a good thing? Well, I don't know. Maybe because you're full of shit, you're lying, you have no fucking meaning in life, and you need to deal with some shit, and it needs to be in the form of a demon staring you in the face, and you got to have a humbling moment and actually lower yourself down enough to start working on some crap, right? And it's like, you can do that without psychedelics. You can. But you can sure as shit expedite the process on them, and the real issue that I see is there was just a real irresponsibility that came with it in the hippies movement, in the 60s and 70s, right? It was a good thing, and I consider myself at least a third hippie, right? At least, right? The original liberal, right? And it just got out of control. Right? There was no intended, there was a lack of intended purpose behind it, right?
Sure.
And it became more reckless, and it became more chaotic, and it did create
Grateful
problems.
Dead, 100 sheet tabs
Yeah,
selling.
yeah, and then you have that pendulum swing politically
because
that
it's not
says
meant
we can't.
to, it's not meant to be done.
That's right.
Like that.
I mean, it's not like you can't do it recreationally, but it's definitely not what it is.
I mean, yeah, I've experienced, and I'm not going back the next day looking to take more mushrooms personally.
That's right. And that's rarely the case, right? You want to talk about real issues, talk about
I have experienced people that I think they're trying to hide from something.
For sure.
Because it's a week straight on shrooms. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know what you'd get out of that.
Again, unless you have somebody who's really professionally helping you through that, like it would have been called obviously a shaman or a medicine man way back in the day. Now we call it a therapist.
Yeah, but
right?
I heard that shrooms are like a 25% loading bar of a peyote or a ayahuasca.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, well, and again, obviously dosage is going to be huge. I mean, right? And I'm fascinated by it. I mean, I'm totally open. I would be disappointed if I didn't try ayahuasca or DMT
I'm
at
thinking
some point
about
in my
it, but
life.
I don't.
Yeah, and I would be disappointed. I mean, I only have one life, and it's
true.
and again, there's something about facing that fear. Like, am I scared? Yeah, I'm scared. I've heard what this shit does. You know, I know what. I mean,
you got all the time in the world, but it's the only thing you can't buy. So you might as well just use it to the fullest.
And okay. I mean, I'm fine. But whatever you guys want to do.
Keep rolling.
Yeah. So, I mean, we, certainly I've done, my fair share, and I would never, ever, ever describe those experiences as anything less than either wonderful or profoundly life-changing. Right. And this is hopefully where we're going, right? Like, one of the things I love that Rogan says, he's like, you want to fix the political problems in the world? Let's just get Congress fucking,
so
everybody's going to do
my
mushrooms,
thing,
right?
My thing is I know Rogan hates when people say this too, but like, if he was the president and Dave Portnoy at Barstool Sports was the vice president,
yeah.
Shit.
Well, you'd have to have a council of elders that includes like like Jordan Peterson.
Oh, I would love it.
Like,
but like Portnoy, like I'm not a big like Trump guy, but I'm a huge Portnoy guy because he doesn't take shit. Like, so he just got like someone tried to like do a Page
hilarious.
6 article that he was doing, sexual misconduct, and he broadcasted it that he didn't, and then it went away quick because like that's what you do, you know what I mean? And no, you don't take shit. And Portnoy, so my vote is Rogan Portnoy.
Okay.
2024.
Right on.
With Jordan Peterson as the House,
my vote,
Senate.
My vote, but this is just along political lines, not just opening up to the entire
I'm
world.
not political, so that's why I say that.
My vote is freaking Florida guy and Tulsi Gabbard. So
Okay.
I think he should tap a Democrat because Tulsi's amazing.
Why can't we all get along and go along, live together, be?
That's it. And it would be such a great fuck you to the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she doesn't take any corporate stuff, right? And DeSantis could just go cross-party and have the first like Republican Democratic ticket, and they're like this close on their viewpoint and how they handle shit, and it would be a realistic step in the right direction for where we need to go, But yeah, no, that's a fun experiment, and Portnoy is a thug. But I think psychedelics are an insanely important part of our future, and I think there's really good reason why they've been suppressed. Some political, some pharmaceutical, right? Just like weed, right? It's like there ain't no money in weed from Pfizer, right?
Right.
So as soon as you can regulate it and sell it, well, then there's money in it, right? But we definitely have to look towards the beautiful medicines that have already been given to us from the beginning of time, and that when you talk to somebody who's experienced something like that, the only reason it's bad is because they were bad here,
Sure.
That's it. It's not because it was bad. Like that medicine is personal. Right. It goes in and it fixes it.
And then like alcohol would be a duller to that.
And alcohol is the exact opposite of that. It is. And don't get me wrong, that is my favorite drug, which is why I quit for 12 years and shit like that. Right. Because that's a slippery one, man.
Yeah,
that one's done more damage than any drug on the planet by far. And,
I agree. And it's the only one we can go grab that together after legally.
True story.
It's the only thing that in Minnesota that we could go intoxicate ourselves with. You know what I mean?
Man. Yeah. So yeah, it's fascinating, dude. I mean, 80% cure rates on smoking, like freaking heroin, like crazy shit. And it's like there's only one way to get there, and that's to profoundly come to a realization. And like you said, I love that mind wipe thing, because the way I describe it, especially with like, I think there's a massive market for the anxiety depression market, right?
Sure.
And because, anxiety depression is that negative feedback loop, right? So I use the example when I explain it to people of, imagine a record player, right? Or a record, right? It's got little grooves in it, right? Well, there's one big groove that you are stuck in, right? And it's not a good one, right? Because this is the way you perceive things. You're just stuck in that groove. You can't get out of it. That psychedelic comes in, and especially with the right therapy, it just sands the plane of that record. And then with it changes your entire perspective on what you think it is to be. And then and it gives you this hugely new, profound meaning for the fact that there is clearly a reality that we don't understand and something so beyond it. And if you can't get on board with that spiritually, fine, okay, be religious or not. I think they're intertwined, but that's a whole different conversation, right? And now you sand the plane of that record, and with the right person, you start re-grooving that record, man. It's like, take your antidepressants and shove them up your ass at that point, man. And I'm not antidepressant, I'm anti not thinking it through, and it's like, there's something wrong with us, so there has to be a pharmaceutical answer. That's the only one,
And we have a friend that we both know that is in the hospital or just got out, who probably struggled with antidepressants for a long time, and we won't go too far into that.
Sure.
But let's talk about your skydiving story.
Well, another spiritual experience.
Yeah, I
suppose.
can't even.
We can sort of.
You told me
transition.
about it
Yeah.
a long time ago, and I can't remember
It's
details.
a badass story, dude. It's so
Okay.
good. Yeah, so we were in Colorado Springs. We moved out to Colorado after the whole Yellow Page advertising thing, and I was selling out there, and we were doing our thing. We had this whole new set of friends, and it was our anniversary, and we were celebrating something. We're like, we want to go skydiving, right? So we go out east to this place where the Air Force Academy cadets were going out and training, right? Because the Air Force Academy's in Colorado Springs. And of course, you get the view of Pikes Peak and the whole mountain range and everything out there. And I'm scared shitless, dude. I'm not a heights guy. You know what I mean? I try to like face my fears and shit, but heights is right up there, right, for me.
I did it for my birthday present.
That's what it was. Yeah, we did it for Sarah's birthday present. And so we go out there with a couple friends, and we get out there, and they're taking us through this training, and it's supposed to be tandem. And we're getting ready, and we're getting ready to go up, and they're like, the plane's not working, like the engine's not working, and and so we're like, shit.
I'd bail.
So right. So we have this conversation, right? Should we bail? That's a bad omen. And I think our rationalization was, well, fuck it, we're jumping out with parachutes anyway. You know what I mean? Like, worst case scenario, like,
Yeah.
So, well, whatever. So we were there way longer than we should have been. It was 6-7 hours. Yeah. I mean, we waited and waited and waited, and we were meeting them and we were practicing, and when they finally get it going, they take like 4 or 5 cadets up first, right? And a couple of the jump instructors go up first, right? And there's this one jump instructor, dude, who looked like he got shit out of a 60s sandwich, right? Like bell-bottom freaking jump, like jumpsuit, like and Evil Knievel, like, and I'm like,
Oh, no.
so I'm just like, wow, look at this dude, right? And we're out there waiting, and there's a landing, kind of sand gravel pit about the size of about a half of a basketball court. It's circular, and this, I'm looking up, and there's this one motherfucker who's just just doing all this crap, and he comes flying down, lands, puts it away, like had the thing tucked by the time he was out of the circle,
dope.
and I'm like, I'm going with that motherfucker, and so I did. I lined up. I'm like, I'm going with him, because I'm like, if I'm gonna do this, I might as well do it, right? And so it's all, well, you've done it, so it's always awkward to have a dude strapped to your back.
Levi,
I mean, that's all.
Levi pulled that video up of me jumping out the plane.
Oh, nice.
No, like
Oh,
he
okay.
will.
In the edit?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, he'll put that in there.
So there's always this, weird moment, right? Because
Yeah.
you're like sitting on this guy's lap, and, so they take you through everything, right? They tell you, all right, get out on the wing, hold the crossbar. There's your little, diving platform, and you're supposed to just fall forward, right? And this is how they train you. And so I got, so I got friggin' 70s version of Axl Rose on my back, and and he whispers in my ear, he's like, you like flips? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I like flips, dude. Let's do some flips. He's like, okay, forget everything they taught you. I'm like, all right, dude. I'm like, all right. He's like, all right, so we're gonna go out on the crossbar, right? And he's like, instead of like holding onto it sideways, he's like, just hold on to it, facing it. Right, and we're gonna do a backflip off, the platform, right, and just on my mark, just 3, 2, 1, and kick as hard as you can. Throw your legs over that, and I'm like, sounds good, So we walk out, and and we're up there, and we, just to shorten the story, we freaking launch off. We're doing this backflip, and obviously you got the free fall. It's amazing. The chute opens. And he's like, all right, no, you're going to steer, right? And he's like teaching me how to steer. He's like, now let's yank on this all the way down. So we yank on it. And here, here's the parachute. And here we are. And we go. Yeah, so now I'm like in a dead fall again with the parachute out here. And we're whipping around.
No.
And we straighten back out. And I'm just like, holy shit, dude, that was amazing. And we come flying down over this. Like, we're like 4 minutes ahead of everybody at this point, right? Like, seriously, we're almost down. So now we come down, we swoop over this shed, And he's like, okay, don't, he's telling me on the way down, he's like, we're not going to land on our butts. He's like, just when I tell you to pull as hard as you can, and we're just going to land nice and easy. I'm like, okay. So we come flying into this freaking pit. He goes, now. And we go, whoop, right? And we just go, whoop. And then he points down, and I'm fucking standing on the center circle of the ring that we were
Supposed to hit,
like standing on it. Like you just pointed down, and I just went, wow.
That's epic as
Yeah,
shit.
it was amazing, dude. I think I was high for like 8 hours after
Yeah,
that, dude.
that-
I just, like,
It was the highest high I've ever been
it's
on when I
insane.
jumped out of
Dude,
a plane.
I was like, how much is a parachute? 20 grand? Okay, we're going to get a parachute. All right, we're going to be out here every single day. Like for
Dude.
sure, dude.
Yeah,
was amazing.
life's short, so you do it. You know what I mean?
How about yours? I mean, you told me a little bit. Where did you go?
I went in Wisconsin.
Okay.
I forget what the place is. It was called Twin City Skydiving, but it was in Wisconsin.
Sure.
And
That's typical.
Yeah, so it was like I want to go out in Malibu though. My buddy lives out in Malibu,
Okay.
and I want to go jump the coast there and then jump in Hawaii.
I would definitely do it again. I
Yeah,
haven't
well,
done it since,
then me and
but-
you sounds like we're going on a trip together. Yeah, man.
I'm game.
Well, I got health, wealth, and be super hard to kill. And
Yeah.
that's the three things, huh?
Yeah.
Love it.
Do it. Health, wealth, super hard to kill.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Make sure you're on somebody's zombie killing team. You got to have some attribute, man.
Dang right. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. Dan Heins, everybody.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.